Hey everyone, it's Lily or Cool Rice Bunnies, and today's video is basically going to be me showing you guys how I do my polymer clay frosting or icing. And this video was really highly requested after I showed you guys a couple of my cupcake charms and my donut charms, and a lot of you wanted to know how I made the frosting for the following charms. My frosting just looks like this. It's kind of like thicker and realistic looking, and I don't really think that my method is much different from other people's methods, and I've told you guys that in the comments, but you all were still very interested to see how I make my frosting, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. The supplies that I use, and they're again pretty basic, is the color clay that I want for my icing, and today I'm using Sculpey 3 in the color white. The softer the clay is, the easier it is to make the frosting, but you can always just really condition your clay before you start using it. Some of you are going to hate me for this, but I of course use TLS or translucent liquid Sculpey. I think this is a really good tool to invest in. I know some of you guys say that it's expensive and that you don't want to spend your money on it, but you can always use the 40% off coupon that your local craft store usually always has, and it's a really good buy, so I really suggest that you pick some up if you don't have any. And then last but not least, I use clay softener, and I know clay softener is pretty pricey, so I understand if you don't want to spend like $4 on this bottle of oil, but a tip for you guys, you can always use baby oil. I got this huge bottle of baby oil at the Dollar Tree for only $1, so if you don't want to spend money on clay softener, you can always use baby oil. It does the same thing, and that's just a little tip for you guys. For my tools, I use these little paint pots. These are airtight, so that way I can store all of my clay frosting in it and they won't dry out. So I got this in the painting aisle of Hobby Lobby, but you can get it at mostly any craft store for a really cheap price. And as you guys can see, I've made lots of different colors of frosting, and I can still reuse them whenever I want, and they haven't dried out. And I cleaned out this pot to demonstrate for you guys today. And then some other tools, I just have any kind of tool, like a plastic tool or anything like that has a flat end I use to mix up the frosting. And then this is optional, but I always use a dotting tool to actually spread the icing on my creation, but I'm not going to be demonstrating that today. I'm just going to be showing you guys how I make the frosting. So basically, you just want to take the colored clay of your choice and begin conditioning it so it's really soft. If you're having trouble getting it super soft, you can always add some clay softener or baby oil to it, but usually with Sculpey 3, it gets really soft really fast, so I don't have any problems with it. After I've conditioned it, I just simply break it apart and then add it into my container. After I have about, however much clay I want, I take my TLS and then I just insert it over the clay. And again, you guys, the way that I make my frosting is pretty basic, so a lot of you guys might have seen this method before, but again, this was just highly requested, so I'm just showing you guys how I do my polymer clay frosting. Next, I will just take my flat-ended tool and I will begin smushing the TLS and the clay together. And the ratio of the TLS and the clay really depends how thin or thick you want your frosting. I usually like to make my frosting pretty thick so that it doesn't slide off of my creations, before I bake it, because I've had some problems with that in the past. So basically, I'm just like smushing the clay up against the paint pot and then just kind of like mixing it together. So now that the TLS has broken down the clay just a little bit, this is when I take a little bit of my baby oil or Sculpey clay softener, and I just add the smallest amount. You don't want to add too much of this because a little bit goes a long way, and I just really add like 1 or 2 drops, like so. So now that I mixed it, it looks a little bit like this, and this is pretty much kind of a little bit too clumpy for my taste, so what I'm actually going to do is go back and add a little bit more TLS, and this is what I was talking about when I was saying that the ratio really depends on what the texture you want is. But I basically just play around with the mixture, adding TLS or baby oil or clay softener as much as I please. Those are basically just the 3 things that I use to make my frosting. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more clay softener. Adding the clay softener really helps it become very spreadable and workable. That really makes my frosting really smooth and easy for me to work with. And by using the clay softener in addition with the TLS, I don't have to use a lot of TLS. I can just use a little bit of TLS and then add clay softener to make it as soft as I want. But basically, this is the ending consistency of my frosting. It's really, really easy to use. It's not super thick, and you can spread it very easily, and the clumps are gone. And sorry, I have clay softener all over my fingers. That's kind of gross. But here it is. And then when you're done with the icing and you're finished spreading with it, you can just take a baby wipe and use that to take off any of the icing or frosting and polymer clay and whatever you want to call it. And baby wipes are awesome because they just get everything off, and then everything is nice and clean. So that is it for this video. I hope that helped you guys out. This video was highly requested, and again, I explained to a lot of you guys that my method isn't really anything special, but you guys wanted to see it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please help me out and give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. And let me know how you make your frosting, or if you do your frosting in a similar way, in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.